Nice to meet you. My name is Daiji Meguro. I'm a Butoh dancer and choreographer. I will show you my 3 activities. First, Butoh solo and group work. Second, video work. Third, entertainment work. First, Butoh activities. I will show you my main solo works. This is Macabre. The title is from Dance Macabre. The theme is death. I used cowhides on the stage. These are a symbol of death. This work is also funeral for Ko Murobushi, who was my boss. He passed away in 2015. This is the body. The theme is body. It's simple. Butoh group works. I will show you my main group works. This is the first is the love story. And this work made with high school students. I call this work Butoh musical. The base was West Side Story. This is the tough mob. This is also Butoh musical. I made this with people who had no experience dance. They wanted to be mafia so much, and they asked me to choreograph of mafia work. It was a comedy work. This is Kakera. I will tell you the details of this work later. Second, my activity is video work. This is the Pass series. I have passed many places ever, and I will pass many places until I pass away. So I titled this work Pass. This is a platform of subway in New York. And next, entertainment work. I have a own company, Ebisu Daikokuza. It's not a Butoh company. It's a touring company, but the member is only me. This is a yokai show. It's for family. Yokai is a monster of Japan. Yokai is not scary. It's cute and sad. This is a yokai show too. This is a sexy show, Rose's Nature. This is Ebisu show. Ebisu is one of a god of Japan. He gives fortune to people. This is also sexy show, the night Ebisu. And Ebisu gave fortune to elderly people before they die. I did it in welfare facility. I'll show the video. I will explain my group work, Kakera Fragments. This is concept. This work will depict through the woman's life, thought, and body, rather than politically, economically, and historically verifying the transition of Japan after World War II. Last year, when I was looking for my response about the 70 years after World War II, I thought of the women I had met. After the war, women's rights and social position have changed dramatically, such as suffrage, gender equality, and employment opportunities. Although the law was improved, the idea of women's rights and position and the woman's own awareness over them seem to differ from generation to generation. Of course, it depends on the environment of the home and the individual value, so it cannot be said clearly. However, due to changes in social, political, and economic circumstances after the war, women's own consciousness and way of thinking are significantly different. Through the life of women's of various generations, probably it is possible to depict Japan after the war. I thought that audience cannot feel the whole of Japan's transition the past 70 years, but they can feel the fragments of Japan by women's life. I asked 4 non-professional women in their 70s, 50s, 30s, and teenager to appear. Then I decided to create Butoh work, Kakera Fragments. I asked each of them questions to tell the audience about their thoughts. Also, I made their solo dances in different ways to show the audience their bodies. Based on these, I composed and directed the stage so that the audience could feel the transition of Japan in the 70 years after World War II. I will introduce the members and talk about what they did on the stage. This is Toji-san. She is in her 50s. She is Rena-san. She was a teenager. This is Kikue-san. She is in her 70s. This is Matsunaga-san. She is in her 30s. And this is Rena-san. She was a teenager when we made this work. She was a high school student. She was studying Korean traditional dance. Also, she was a member of the art club in high school club activities. In our work, Kakera Fragments, she showed her artwork and talked the concept of her artwork. Also, she performed Korean traditional dance. The concept of her artwork was whether my present is fun sad, or painful. I must see my future with my own eyes. This concept is very heavy for Japanese people. The reason is that she is a Korean resident in Japan. In Japan, there is a discrimination against Korean residents. It is a deep-seated issue that has continued since the Japanese occupation of Korea in 1910. In such a situation, her artwork concept was that whether my present is fun, sad, or painful, I must see my future with my own eyes had an important meaning for audience who was almost Japanese people. As a student, she did not feel gender discrimination in society, so she didn't seem to be interested in women's issue. However, she felt the problem of discrimination against Korean residents in Japan. Her artwork theme, learning Korean traditional dance and attending Korean school, are proof of this. She was trying to catch her identity in order to resist discrimination. Discrimination against Korean residents in Japan still continues among her. It hasn't been solved even after 110 years. However, she had sought to see things beyond discrimination and identity. It can be seen from the concept of her artwork. Whether my present is fun, sad, or painful, I must see my future with my own eyes. Next, Matsunaga-san. She's in her 30s. She's a high school teacher. She's a generation in which women's social status has risen to some extent, and that has become established in society. Even in the school where she works, there is a rule to appoint women to high positions. However, her generation is that woman works as much as man and is required to raise children. Many men do not raise children in Japan. This is a new gender discrimination. She said, I'm too busy to have time to relax. The Japanese people way of working, which does not care about private life and dedicate their life for their work, is a symbol of post-war Japan's economic growth. In addition, women are required to raise children. Her dance theme was her indignation to Japanese society. Next, Toji-san. She's in her 50s. After World War II, Japanese women were able to choose their own life. She chose a job and never got married. However, traditional Japanese values maintain even now. There is still prejudice and discrimination against women who do not marry or have children. Older generations have this prejudice and discrimination, but nowadays, some younger generations who are married and have babies have the same prejudice and discrimination. She has lived without giving into the prejudice and discrimination. Toji-san talked on stage about the difference between her mother and her. Her mother was born before World War II. Toji-san chose to be independent as opposed to her mother's generation, who wanted to match the image of women that men and society wanted. She worked for many years as a part-time teacher at the high school. Her mother told her that your old age is pitch black, but she doesn't regret it. However, the only regret she had was that she couldn't get a baby.